90. That goes to show what Ridley is capable of as the main offensive catalyst for the Falcons. Plus, Ridley was Matt Ryan's favorite red zone target even when Julio was in town, having caught 26 total touchdowns in 3 NFL seasons. So the volume is there, the red zone role is there, and the number 2 wide receiver on the team is Russell Gage, who surprisingly saw 110 targets last season, but he ain't Julio Jones. And the Falcons, who attempted the 4th most passing plays per game in 2020, will no doubt be back to their pass-happy ways in 2021. Plus, their defense is inept. They play their home games in a dome, which tends to lead to more shootouts. Literally everything is trending towards Ridley having another gigantic year. And despite the natural proclivity for me and many others to grab a running back in this round for security purposes, the opportunity to take Ridley's upside and lock up a wide receiver spot for the year is simply too good to pass up in drafts for me this season. In fact, about half the players taken in the first round, Tyreek Hill, Ezekiel Elliott, Nick Chubb among them, I'd rather have Ridley on my rosters anyway. That doesn't mean take him in the first, but if there's one player in the first 2 rounds to reach for outside of the top 5 picks, it's Ridley for me. Awesemo's rankings tend to agree with that sentiment, currently pegging him as the 9th overall pick in half-point PPR leagues, and even a smidge higher in most best ball formats, where snagging wide receivers early and often has become the name of the game. So while Devonte Adams and Stephon Diggs stand out as the top wide receiver options this season, don't be shocked if Calvin Ridley pushes them for the title of wide receiver 1 despite being taken a round later.
We all know football season is the greatest time of year, but drafting season's a very close second. So whether you're drinking and drafting with your boys for your annual home league or preparing for your next high-stakes draft, the top priority remains the same: winning, and more specifically, winning money. And what better way to do that than by drafting a beauty? That's why you've got to check out our brand new draft kit at Awesemo.com, created by experts who have profited over $7 million playing fantasy sports. These guys are going to help you crush your drafts this year with tools like the Draft Wingman that's powered by projections from the #1 ranked daily fantasy sports player in the world, Awesemo himself, and includes a one-of-a-kind recommendation engine that takes into account your prior picks to ensure a well-rounded team and optimal draft. Draft Wingman is also outfitted with best ball specific recommendations, including our stack highlighting feature, which helps you complete your all-important best ball stack. If you're looking for more details, or maybe you're already down to join us for an incredible NFL season, click the following link and use the promo code WR, that's WR, to get the entire draft kit for only $9.95. We'll see you over there.
Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Awesemo Fantasy Football channel. Doing a little bit of a FFPC draft tonight. So, oh man, my blood is pumping right now because this is a $1,900 tournament, $500K to first. Man, I wouldn't mind $500K. That would be about one crypto punk for those keeping track at home. So that would be big. I just give you guys a overview of the format here. I got my Draft Wingman tool up here. That's going to help me keep track of all the players that I'm looking for. And let me just explain how this tournament works real quick. It's a Okay, so this 12-person league, it's running the first 11 weeks. Then 12 weeks. And then the top 4 teams make the playoffs. And then there's 2 heads-up rounds. Then weeks 15 through 17, it's everybody combined. And you add your average score from weeks 1 through 14 to your average score, or to the 3 rounds, weeks 15 through 17, and they rank the players based on that. So it's kind of like if you guys have done some of the big tournaments on other sites, kind of similar, where the last 3 weeks are really the money rounds. Anytime you have a head-to-head round, that's going to lower the impact of those weeks, because you only have to beat one person instead of 12. So the average points you score aren't worth as much. All right, I almost am about to draft my first pick here. I'm just kind of keeping track of everyone. hopefully Darren Waller is on the board here. That's really who I'm looking for. Now, this is a tight end premium site. So that means, damn, they got Waller before me. Nice pick, Riser. But I got my next ranked player. That's no big deal. So the tight end premium element of this is that tight ends get 1.5 points per reception. So that does increase the value of tight ends significantly. And the thing is, like, there's only one playable tight end in fantasy on every team, really. So once you start adding in that there's 2 flex spots on my FFPC, then there's going to be a lot of people drafting double tight end. It's not something I'm going to want to wait on because these guys are going pretty quick and for good reason. So I'm going to hope to lock up that position pretty quick. But Devonte Adams is a stone cold killer. I think that he could win a league for me for sure. So I definitely don't mind getting him. I think I was pick 8, so that's not bad to start the draft. Now the other thing is wide receiver is very deep, so it's going to put a lot of pressure on me in these early rounds to be able to get 2 running backs and 1 tight end that are going to be competitive. I may end up waiting on quarterback. And the thing you should know about FFPC, like the reason I really like FFPC is they focus on the classic leagues. So there's waiver wire, you pick your starting lineup, none of that best ball stuff. So you really don't have to get quarterback as early in these. So that's definitely something I'm factoring in. All right, I'm just picking these guys. So keeping up the draft wingman kind of adjusts these recommendations as you go along. So to have the right players up here, you just gotta make sure to X out the players as they're taken. I'm noticing a lot of players are being taken above where I have them here, so that's definitely not something I'm going to mind at all. All right, so I'm really hoping Kittle comes back to me. I don't love George Kittle this year because I feel like when Trey Lance takes over in San Francisco, that's going to be even more rushing on a rush first team. However, this is a 10 premium league. So I do have Kittle several spots ahead. I think I have him like 25th on some other sites. So having him 10th here, that really shows how much different the value of tight end is in these tight end premium leagues. So Saquon, man, all right. Fortunately, Kittle is still on the board here, so that is definitely a big win for me. I have him 10th, and I got him on the 17th pick. So my team is looking pretty strong so far. Now the question is, will I be able to get viable running backs? One guy that I really like this year that's been dropping a lot is Chris Carson. Now he didn't have an amazing fantasy year last year, but I do feel like the box scores really didn't do him justice. I don't think he had a big touchdown year, and also um, he he missed a couple of games. So I feel like that's why maybe uh, people aren't as stoked to draft Carson as they would otherwise. So I do. I'm gonna look. Let's see. I want to sort this by ADP. It looks like it's defaulted to sorting by ADP, so that was no change there. All right. Did someone get Jonathan Taylor? Okay, someone just this riser. He keeps grabbing my guys. What the heck? All right. I did. Okay. So, Joe Mixon and Chris Carson are popping up to the top of my list here. I'm not drafting for like a while, so hopefully they're still there when it comes back around. Um, I wonder like how many people have been drafting best ball versus classic. Like this is actually my first classic draft so far this year. So it is uh, a little bit of an adjustment trying to kind of switch my mindset where like instead of trying to focus on getting really strong depth at every position, I'm really looking to get one good player at each of my starter spots and then load up the bench with a lot of boom bust picks. One thing to note on this league is there is no trading, so I'm not going to want to pick players um, that won't fit my team, like maybe a second quarterback or something like that, because I just won't be able to get any value out of those players. All right. Oh, guys, if you're not already on FFPC, make sure you get our draft kit. It's $15. You can get $5 off with the promo code Fantasy Season. And then once you sign up with the draft kit, you get a $35 free ticket for FFPC. So that that's a net of $25 in your pocket without doing anything. So they're putting a little bit extra in the pot for us here. If you aren't already a member, and just sign up for a draft kit, then it will give you the link to sign up for FFPC. All right. AJ Brown, damn, oh shoot, he's looking really low here on my board. Not a guy I'm really chasing this year because I feel like um, this run first team. He has a little bit more competition with Julio, although the tight end, since they got rid of Jonu Smith, he has less competition for targets there. But I'm not convinced of the breakout. All right, so it's looking like everyone's pivoting and taking the wide receivers. I do notice. Wow, Kyle Pitts' ADP is 32. Oh, it's tight end premium. That's right. So I actually have him at 33. That makes sense. All right. TJ Hawkinson, I have at 28. Since this is a tight end premium, it could make sense to double up on tight end. The only question is, do those 0.5 PPR points make it more advantageous to start Hawkinson over a player at a different position? So it'll really be down to like tight end or wide receiver since my running backs aren't that strong, or at least I'm not anticipating being really strong at running back on this team. And that's totally fine because this league has a waiver wire. So there's two ways I can make up for my running back weakness. The first is that I can draft handcuffs later in the draft, and hopefully one of those guys, like a Pollard or Madison, will hit, and then I'll be really solid at my second running back spot. The other way is just that maybe there's a breakout running back, and I can just use my budget on the waiver wire on that player. So there is waiver wire the first 12 weeks, I think, or maybe it's the first. I don't know the exact specifics. I know I don't think you can do the waiver wire after the leagues merge, but before that you can. All right, so I got my guy Chris Carson. That means I have a really good start to my draft because I have a really balanced this lineup so far. That will allow me to get guys as they drop and not have to see one of my favorite players not get not get drafted, and then I won't be able to take advantage. So all right, James Robinson. It looks like the ADP is caught up real quick with that situation where Eddie ends out for the year. So that's kind of interesting. I was kind of wondering how people would draft him, but I have him at 29. The ADP is 38 so far. So I wouldn't mind grabbing him or DeAndre Swift in my next pick. Let's see how this plays out. Kyle Pitts, pretty interesting draft pick in the tight end premium. So I don't hate that. Although I do question like what a reasonable expectation is for him this year. It's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. So I'm hoping to grab him in a few lineups, but taking a rookie tight end 35th, I have a hard time kind of getting over that that concept, I guess. So if you guys are playing the MLB slate, Cueto was scratched, so they have an opener, I think. Let's see who this guy Jose Alvarez is. I'm kind of updating these projections as I'm going along here. Jose Alvarez. I'm having trouble finding him on Fangraphs, so I'm guessing this guy isn't amazing. Let's see. Here I've got him. Yeah, he's an opener, so that really doesn't make a difference. All right, let me catch up with this draft real quick. Amari Cooper, check. Cooper Cup. Oh, the metric I want to be judging people on at this point is total fantasy points here, because I'm going to be looking at the flex, so I'm less worried about positional value and more worried about who's going to just put up the most fantasy points. Just assuming that I will pick up a solid running back, a solid wide receiver. That really shouldn't be a problem. James Robinson. It looks like a couple of really solid running backs are falling to me here. Dang, that's okay. Someone picked James Robinson. I was trying to figure out which one I wanted to pick, but not an issue anymore. So I do have some major concerns with DeAndre Swift, given that the Lions aren't very good this year, and you have Jamal Williams in there, but I'm getting him below ADP significantly. This is pick 41, and his ADP is 36. So that seems to be like a solid choice there. So excuse me while I'm just updating this stuff. Okay, still have a couple lineups left, so I really like my draft so far. I'm already counting the 500K and picturing the NFTs I can buy with that. Guys, if you're liking this video so far, hit that thumbs up button. If you're on YouTube, that will that'll make sure everyone sees it. So appreciate the help there. And let me just check the comments here. My monitor is real small, so I have to really squint here. No one says Alex wearing the birthday present I got him last year. He's talking about the Canada shirt. Nolan is Canadian. Wow, everyone's commenting on the shirt. I used to kind of live half the time in Canada, so that's how I'm repping Canada. No one says, "My God, that's literally free money." Nice. Yeah, these are. Okay, so there's a promo code Awesemo. I'm sure it has those details once you buy the draft kit. So, all right. Hartnell says, should I trade CD Lamb, Cooper Kupp, and Chase Edmonds for Diggs and Claypool? Full PPR redraft. My general feeling on that would be yes, I guess. I feel like Diggs is a total game changer. And you can probably make up for the other guys like Claypool and CD Lamb. Like, I think Diggs is squarely ahead of CD Lamb. So that's a win. And then Claypool and Cup. I think Cup's slightly ahead, but kind of in the same tier. Really interested to see what Claypool does this year. So I like buying in on him. And then Chase Edmonds is probably replaceable. So I think that is that's pretty solid. I'm curious, like, man, are people actually like trading at this point? I'm not in any leagues that have even drafted yet. So I'm curious what kind of league this is. All right, man. All right, is Allen Robinson still on the board here? That would be pretty interesting. All right. So I intentionally kind of let these quarterbacks go off the board because I really needed the running backs. But if Lamar Jackson comes down to me, I could see drafting him. His ADP looks way too low to me here. I feel like he is one of the best. Maybe like I feel like he's on par with the other QBs. Maybe not quite Mahomes. One thing to note on FFPC is that you do get more points per passing yard. So I think it's in a normal league you get 1 point per 250. Or wait, 1 point per 25. And in FFPC, you get 1 point per 20 passing yards. So that does make the quarterback position a lot more valuable than on other sites. So that would be one argument where, since more points are coming from the quarterback position, it makes sense to take a player at that position earlier. Of course, Lamar doesn't get the full benefit because he doesn't pass for as many yards, but still a very solid option. The thing is, once you go below Lamar, I feel like it does get significantly less interesting, I guess. Let me update this Yankees lineup. Hopefully there aren't too many late swaps tonight. T. Higgins. Not seeing anything to stand out with these picks. So let's see. Ayuk. All right. Miles Sanders. Not someone I'm really chasing, but I don't hate him. Gus Edwards will be really interesting to see where he comes off the board. I don't have a ton of incentive to pick a running back at this point, so I probably wouldn't take him in this round, depending on what transpires between now and my pick. But I do think that he's pretty interesting now. That Dobbins is out, so that was unfortunate. But Lamar got picked. So maybe I'd go with Dak if no one's taken him. Let's see what his ADP is, 73. So that is kind of a reach. I feel like I'd be better off trying to let him drop and then taking him in the next round. So that could backfire, but there are some later round quarterbacks that I do like Jalen Hurts. So the other guy I'm kind of considering in Classic compared to Best Ball is Jameis Winston. I feel like he'll be a better Classic pick because he'll be good the games he starts. I'm just worried that he'll get benched for Taysom Hill at least a few games this year. But that's not a problem if at the end of the draft you take Taysom Hill yourself. So that could be a rare instance where you just punt quarterback and then take those guys late to make up for it. All right, Thielen's off the board. All right, so I got my 2 running backs. So I'm just drafting best overall. Now let's see. Josh Jacobs, 201 fantasy points. Where let's see the wide receivers. I think Mike Evans is off the board, so I gotta keep up with this a little bit better. Oh man, I'm on the clock. All right. Let's see, Jerry Jeudy. I'm kind of intrigued by the talent, but I'm not feeling overly confident about Denver's passing game since they were pretty bad last year. Though I think that Teddy Bridgewater is a pretty solid player. It does look like this is kind of slanting for me to go with a wide receiver here because I have Chase at 212 fantasy points and Jacobs at 200. In addition, there is the more injury risk for running backs, which is really making me like Chase. So I guess my strategy here, if I get Chase now, I do have Tyler Boyd ranked higher than him, as well as a few other players, but it's not like a significant difference. And I'm just hoping that I could be wrong on Chase's projection, and he could be better than I'm anticipating, which is certainly there's a lot of volatility in rookie projections. Or the other thing is these other guys that I want to draft could also come back around, and then I get them at a steal price. So I don't think I'd be upset either way. I don't really feel much need to draft a running back at this point because I have 2, and it's PPR and tight end premium. So I'm kind of curious to see how everyone else has been drafting so far. So how many people have taken 2 running backs? It looks like there's some really good options still on the board. So maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 teams haven't taken 2. It's interesting because I feel like I guess if every team takes 2, there's 24, so there's still be some starters left. So I think that's where we're at. That makes sense. All right. The one comment I have on Jerry Jeudy, like I feel like every time I'm like, okay, this quarterback's on a new team, there's going to be a bump. Like Philip Rivers, the Colts went from Philip Rivers to, they went from Tyrod to Philip Rivers. And I was like, okay, this is going to make a huge bump to the passing game. And then, it, literally had, very little impact. So, I mean, there's so many other players on the field and the scheme. So, all right, let's see who we got left here. Dak's still on the board. That really fills the need, or I could get Boyd. The question is, I feel like there's not much chance that either player comes back to me because let's see, there's 15 picks in between my picks. So I guess because this is a one QB league, I feel like although Dak probably won't come back to me, that there will be some other good quarterbacks. The other thing is, maybe if I pick up Joe Burrow, I can get a stack with Boyd and Chase. And since weeks 15 through 17 are scored GPP style, having a 3-person stack could be an advantage, even though in a season-long format, stacking typically isn't really a advantage. So that is one unique feature of this league that I'm kind of keeping in the back of my mind. As far as no one's taken Henderson yet, definitely favor him. Where I guess maybe his situation is a little bit more uncertain now that you have Sony on the team, but I do feel like it's pretty solid. All right, let's see what you guys are talking about here. Jesus 10-man league. No, this is a 12-man league. So, or Jace is 7. I guess I missed a comment there. All right, easier to knock out a punching bag or Jake Paul? Oh man, either one is super easy. All right. Oh man, I'm stoked for football season. It's gonna be dope. We were just talking about all the new stuff going on. So doing optimal lineup percentages in DFS, that'll be big. Doing tiers, boom bust essentially, and optimal and ownership. Like the thing I found in DFS recently is that uh a lot of the largest field formats like MLB, like NBA, NFL, they have the biggest prize money, and you can make an absolute killing if you're a pro, but it does make the ROI a little bit lower for everyone because everyone's spending all this time to optimize for those formats. So being contrarian in game selection can be an advantage. So people spend a lot less time on tiers in particular. So I feel like the ROI you can get in tiers, and because the mistakes people make in it are so because there's no salary cap, you can make enormous mistakes. So I do feel like that format is pretty favorable for ROI, and for most people, if you're not throwing down thousands of bucks, you should do it in the uh, smaller volume slates, I feel like, preferably because there's just less competition for that money. All right. Let me know what you guys think about that. I've just been noticing, although I make most of my money from NFL, NBA, MLB, the ROIs are a lot higher in other sports. I mean, NFL may be a big exception because that does have the most soft money, but for daily sport, I feel like I've been winning a ton using our projections on the site for college football, for preseason NFL, for soccer. So I definitely recommend giving those a try. All right. Odell Beckham's kind of interesting this year. He was just taken off the board. But man, Cleveland has the worst weather of any uh, team at home. So that is something I'd be concerned about with Odell. All right. At this point, I got tight end, running back, wide receiver filled. I have one more flex spot. Beyond that, probably want to stack my bench with some more handcuff style plays. Although maybe I'd want one more running back, wide receiver, tight end that I'm expecting to contribute like significant points. But since you can't start them, I don't mind going with a flyer on any given week. I do realize now that I'm looking at my running backs that both have bye weeks, week 9. I don't want to be at a huge disadvantage week 9, so I may have um, to draft another running back sooner rather than later. So that's kind of something I had an oversight with. I don't think there was anyone kind of on that same echelon as Swift when I picked him, so I don't know if there was a better play. But that is suboptimal that I have 2 running backs with the same bye week. All right. In a 10-team standard auction, would you agree I should go for 2 top 12 running backs in a QB like Josh Allen / Lamar? I wouldn't necessarily have a positionally based strategy because you may be eliminating a lot of possibilities that could be more bang for your buck. So let me show you guys where the auction information is here on Awesemo. So go to our consensus draft rankings page. You have all of our auction recommendations, and I believe these are based on the standard $200 budget for auction. So like obviously if you can get players below where we have them, this auction column, then you're getting a good value. So I would use a reference like this to help you make your bids. The other thing to consider in auction is people might blow their budget early and then you won't need to bid much for players later in the auction. So it could make sense to go a little bit high on some of these early picks that are really strong and then make it up later in the draft when people have money left and can't really spend it because everyone's already blown their budget. So Higby is kind of interesting. I do have a really solid tight end, so then it would just come down to how is this projection comparing to other players. So you have him at 160 or 197. The alternatives would be like, oh shoot, Michael Thomas. That is definitely a good season-long pick. So that would be an interesting option here. So Dak is kind of falling to me. Looks like I'm getting about 15 more fantasy points than the next highest players. But man, if I just wait a little bit, I think that okay, so there's a huge drop off at quarterback, it looks like after him. So I don't love taking a quarterback at this point, but it does really look like I'm getting a big advantage by taking my quarterback now. Although I do want Higby. All right, so this is he does have the lowest ADP too, so he was absolutely crushing last year before his injury. So I feel pretty good about Dak. Now, the one thing is I don't think I might be able to stack him because obviously Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb already kind of got taken, um, which is a little bit of a downside. But uh, I don't think you absolutely need to stack as a huge priority. So it's because there's really only 3 weeks, playoff weeks, where um, gonna get advantage stacking. So I wonder what um, Joe Burrow's ADP is, because I could even take him later in the draft, and then uh, I could start him in the playoffs if I really want to stack. Or I could take Trey Lance. I got a Kittle, so that would be a good stack. Man, Higby is really dropping here. I don't mind him at all. Although right now, if I had to pick, I might go with Michael Thomas, because I feel like Michael Thomas, although I'm not going to be able to start him early in the year, like there's like no more obvious player that could be putting up huge fantasy points later in the year. So that does seem pretty appealing at this draft spot. All right, so Jalen Waddle. It's kind of interesting what the Saints are doing at wide receiver this year, which is pretty much nothing. So I'm very intrigued to see how that's gonna look. Oh man, I'm getting some NFL tweets in my timeline here, so let me check if there's any interesting info. This is something about a defensive player, so that would have been pretty cool to get the inside scoop on a injury situation in the middle of the draft, but unfortunately that wasn't as exciting as I thought. All right. I guess Wilson already got taken. Oh shoot! Anyway, I think I just clicked the wrong player. So I'm really looking at Michael Thomas right now. As my picks coming up, I feel like he's a really good stash play, and I have more than enough good starters at each position, so that makes a lot of sense to me. Yep. Okay, Ronald Jones. Okay, my pick is still here. Now the worry with Michael Thomas is that he just won't ever come back. Basically, he was pretty effective last year when he did play, so I'm feeling pretty good about him. I think he's out the first 8 weeks of the season. They're projecting, so this is really 4 weeks, 15 through 17 that I'm picking him. I just have to have a strong enough team to get me to the playoffs. So I think I should be pretty solid there based on who I picked so far. Right, one guy I'm kind of keeping an eye on here is Joe Burrow, ADP 140, so that'd be in round 12. I think I want to pick him up because I have 2 Cincinnati players so far. I guess It's kind of interesting because I feel like stacking is a little bit of a disadvantage during the regular season because you don't really want volatility if you're projecting that your team is better. But during the playoffs, stacking is an advantage. So that is kind of an interesting factor with these FFPC main event drafts. Okay, AJ Dillon, that was a guy I was kind of keeping an eye on. He's one of the top stash picks. So I think Pollard is still on the board, so he might be a good target if 10 ADP. So I've noticed there aren't a ton of really good handcuffs this year, just because like I don't have a lot of confidence in the backups to assume the full role in most situations. So Pollard, AJ Dillon, and Kenyon Drake do seem like three really strong targets in that respect. And then I got like Fournette if Ronald Jones got injured is kind of intriguing. Um, but I might even take um, Drake over Fournette because I feel like, well, I guess the logic's the same. Where if the other player got injured, then you're in business. So I think both would be solid. Is Jalen Hurts still on the board? Man, that's a steal. That's kind of like the downside of selecting the quarterback early is that now I can't get a quarterback that I really like in one of these later rounds. Will there be projections for Super Draft NFL? Says Andrew. No, I don't think we're planning to have Super Draft, but you can just use our projected stats, and that has all the information you need. Deshaun Watson supposedly, unless he gets traded, he's not going to play this year. So I think that I'm not going to go after Watson. Leo says, "Can I give you my login for next Monday to draft my team?" Yes. Just send me all of your information. Big Grifter says, "Is it a good strategy to stack in best ball?" There are definitely players that I'm trying to stack. Like, obviously, if you take a passing quarterback, the only way they're getting to like 30 fantasy points is by getting a ton of passing yards and touchdowns. So that's the kind of player I want to stack. But if it's like Lamar Jackson, the problem with stacking Lamar is that the receivers really don't get a ton of volume, and Lamar can get there without them. So uh, I'm best ball. I'm looking to stack the players that don't have rushing upside individually, and then of course if you have a player that stacks with your team, that is an advantage regardless in best ball. So it's not something I'm going to force in, but it's definitely something I'm factoring in when I'm trying to figure out what the best play is for my team. All right. So just sorted by this team fit that helps me see at this point in the draft when my starters are filled that I can then see the players that pop up the most are handcuffs essentially because they really have that potential to explode in fantasy projections. So that's why I'd be looking at guys like Philip Lindsay, where if David Johnson got traded, which it sounds like is somewhat plausible, then Lindsay could absolutely have a monster role this year. A bad team, but we saw James Robinson pull off as bad a team almost and be a league winner. So looks like one of these backup running backs could be a smart play. Let's see, I got one wide receiver spot open, I think, or one flex because Michael Thomas I'm not starting early in the season, so that's making me want to. Oh damn! I didn't add all the players on my team. That'll help get these draft wingman selections more tailored to me. So, um, okay, that'll help filter the top players to the top here. Okay. So it looks like Pollard is still popping up. The main logic here is that I can get a flex player like later in the draft with no problem. So I'm not really incentivized to pick one at this stage. The one thing I'm kind of wondering about is like, is it a little bit of a reach? Because he isn't drafted as high as some of these other running backs. So the main thing here is just that at this point in the draft, like I'm not as worried about ADP. I just want to get the guys I think are the best. Because like you're not really getting a huge advantage by taking maybe a guy 5 spots ahead of ADP. And one guy that I want to take here though is Will Fuller. He has a huge projection. That'll help me a lot. So one of the more boom bust players in the league. But I think that there's definitely a chance he has a big year this year. So I'm surprised his ADP is so low this year. I mean, he was like a 6th round pick last year, 5th round, and he, from my observations, like had a big impact when he's on the field. So I'm not sure why people are sleeping on him. As if you don't already have our draft kit, make sure to go to awesemo.com/draft kit. Got a ton of tools to help you win your draft. And one of the big ones is this draft wingman that I'm using that helps kind of present the best picks for you at each stage in the draft, and that really helps you get the most out of each pick. There's only 1 minute per pick, so you really got to be prepared at each stage to make the decisions that are going to be best. So when you do get the draft kit, you get a free $35 ticket to FFPC. Now, let me look at some of their other tournaments here, and I'll just kind of browse through the lobby. I know they have a lot of $35 tournaments. Now, if you're going to choose between leagues, I think it's kind of an interesting choice. Best ball is probably a good choice if you don't think you're actually going to manage your teams. If you are willing to manage your teams, or if you enjoy like managing teams and doing a classic league, I feel like has a huge advantage over best ball because there's just more opportunities to get an advantage. Where in best ball you can get an advantage in the draft. In classic, you can get an advantage in the draft, and then people like forget about their teams. They don't update their starting lineup. There's just so many more stages where it can go wrong. And I actually found myself in some classic leagues on FFPC last year, and it was like 2 hours before starting time on Sunday, and it's just like, damn, like I don't have time to update these. So that's like really the calculus is you can get a huge ROI if you do have the time to keep all your teams up to date every week. Do the waiver wire on Tuesday. Set your starting lineup. I think the kind of ROI you can get in a classic league is huge. So, all right, Ink Scar says Cook, Mixon, them. Okay, he just has his whole lineup here. Cook, Mixon, Allen Robinson, Cup, Edmonds, Julio, Edwards, Chase. Okay, this lineup looks really stacked, so I think you're gonna be solid this year. I like all those guys. Um, guys, if you can hit the thumbs up, appreciate that. All right. Now let's see what my team's looking like. I got 3 running backs, 5 wide receivers. So at this point in the draft, I'm looking for some boom bust picks. So I may want to continue loading up on maybe like a guy like Philip Lindsay, who I think he'd be a really good fit for this team because he is a starting running back in Houston. He'll really help me on those bye weeks for that reason. And he could even be a flex play. So I think he makes a ton of sense. I feel like people are sleeping on him. Now the question is, if his ADP is 131, that's like round 11 to 12. I don't feel like he's such a high priority that I need to draft him ahead of time. So then it really becomes a question. I guess the Draft Wingman kind of has some recommendations here for me that are pretty good. Austin Hooper. So I was saying if I go tight end here, that could be the move. Or maybe I want to go Joe Burrow, 141. That'll probably be at least 1 round away from here. So I am kind of looking. Hooper, I think I kind of like Hooper and I kind of like Ertz. I do need at least 1 more tight end. And I feel like those guys have a lot of upside. So it does make a lot of sense for me to hold off on tight end. Irv Smith is out the first few weeks, so he's kind of interesting. That wouldn't really dissuade me from drafting him on this team because I got Kittle, so I don't really need a starter at tight end. I could use some flex help during the bye weeks for other players, and also there's a chance that he makes big improvement this year. So since he's a younger player, there's a higher chance that we just don't really know what we have with him. Although I really don't know if Kyle Rudolph not being on the Vikings this year is going to move the needle a ton. So that's that is a question. Irv Smith, he doesn't get targeted a ton when he is on the field. So I do have some big question marks, but I think that if he falls enough because of this injury, then he could be kind of interesting. Drake was taken. So Cole Comet is another interesting guy. He's basically taking the starter role in Chicago tight end. And that's another, I think he's second year, and it's a big question mark. Like, okay, first of all, the quarterback position, like, is a huge question mark for the Bears. If they switch to Justin Fields mid-season, like I'm anticipating, that would be a hit to tight end just because they're running the ball more. Passing is short less. The question is just, is Komet good enough to justify a high draft pick? So I do feel like he's kind of interesting. And 149, that means I could potentially get him next round. Also, Trey Lance. I'm kind of regretting taking Prescott because I feel like Trey Lance, I'm not sure why he's ranked so low here, but I'll have to go take a look at that. But he is pretty good in my opinion. So I think that's some sort of error there. All right, Irv Smith. Okay. So right now, obviously J.K. Dobbins is out for the season. So Philip Lindsay is still on the board. I prefer Philip Lindsay to Nyheim Hines a ton. Honestly, because Nyheim Hines, it's pretty hard to envision him getting the rushing attempts that it needs to really win you a league. Although he had some big weeks last year, I feel like if Jonathan Taylor went down, it wouldn't be Hines getting more work. Although, oh man, all right. So my play got taken. So dang, now I'm really kind of being put to the test here. So uh, it's telling me go with Hooper, Comet, but I know I can wait a few rounds and get those guys. Evan Ingram, I feel like there was some injury news recently, so I'm not excited about him. Gage 190. I feel like Gage could be a breakout player this year. What's his he does kind of fit with my team too. So then essentially I'm looking at Gage, and then Trey Lance I really like, but I feel like I want to go with Burrow on this team just because I can't get a lot of utility out of Lance because I drafted Prescott. But Burrow in the playoffs, if I see an advantage to stacking, could provide a lot of utility. Plus, he's certainly a very talented young player that could exceed expectations too. So he was pretty good in fantasy last year. I know he had that ACL, so it's hard to count on a significant improvement, but he does have that in his range of outcomes. All right. Big Ritter says I'm doing a best ball right now. Someone just took Josh Allen #1. Damn, that's a great best ball that you're in. So hopefully, get a good draft there. Now, with best ball, I kind of feel like it makes sense to wait to draft because last year at the very end, all the soft money came in. But it depends on the site. Now that the preseason's done, I feel like the advantage of late news is going to be a little bit less. I'm really after tomorrow's roster cuts, I think that you can feel pretty safe in drafting, so that'll be pretty cool. I've been kind of waiting in the wings to get more information for my best ball drafts, so hopefully the we get some interesting stuff. One that I was kind of not anticipating was Rashad Perryman got cut. Like that's really something that no one benefits from, but people get hurt by. So once you throw in like maybe a dozen injuries and cuts, then it becomes hard to have a team that kind of survived all that, and that's before the year even starts. So that's why I'm pretty hesitant to draft early because what I saw last year is that once you get to the end, like you really need a team that um, you need a team that has a lot of healthy players because you're competing against the cream of the crop from every division, right? So to be able to win that, you need to have some players go off that no one else had on the winning team that last week. So just having all 18 or 20 players healthy is a huge priority. All right, let's take a look at some of the tournaments here on FFPC. So it looks like they got a lot of kind of slow-ish drafts here, 2 hours. I believe the clock stops overnight in those. So One way you can do a lot of drafts is just like stack the slow drafts all at once. So I feel like 2 hours, that is pretty frequent. So that could be an advantage if you're around a lot to just be able to check everything. Because I'm sure people are missing their picks and everything. All right, so Joe Burrow's. I don't love spending a draft pick on a quarterback again here, but he does seem to really fit my build. It's funny that Ramondre Stevenson is being drafted high. Like, man, that is a preseason bump if I've ever seen one. All right. Darrington Evans, that's a good pick. All right, Ryan. Buffalo running backs, I don't have any of those guys in any leagues this year just because, man, they like didn't use the running back position much at all last year. So that makes it tough to get excited about. All right. So they have a lot of cash leagues. I do really like cash leagues because the build is so much different than a large tournament like the main event. So you can kind of diversify exposure and stuff. I know they have some big best ball tournaments, so let me check out this best ball tournament too. I'm curious. 50K grand prize, 2,300 teams. So if I'm drafting best ball, one of my main concerns is the dollars per hour, to be honest, that I can get in. So the higher the stakes, the better from that perspective. So 125, that's like 5 times higher than other sites. So that would definitely be a plus if I was looking to draft, just because each one counts for so much more. So even though the first prize isn't as big, that doesn't mean the ROI is going to be less per tournament from a dollar perspective. So if you're a busy guy like me, then that would be a large concern. All right. Evan Ingram's taken. McKissick's kind of interesting. All right. Let's talk about ranking again. Did Hurts not get taken yet? I guess he did. That's definitely someone I'm pretty excited about this year. Higbee got taken. All right. So Tony Jones, man. I know I've heard that he's ahead of Latavius Murray in the depth chart, but still, man, I feel like that's the kind of pick that can come back to bite you later when he doesn't have the role that you thought when the situation happens. So maybe I'm just Waffy, what's up, man? Thanks for dropping in here. Wander says, I think I'm gonna wait a few days after the 9-1 cuts to get the high-dollar best ball tournaments. Been a long time since I saw the wizard on the stream. Yeah, that makes sense to wait until after the cuts to draft. Like essentially what you're doing, you're avoiding some landmines that could potentially come up. Oh my gosh, I misspelled this guy's name. No wonder he wasn't coming up. But I feel like he's kind of interesting. I just okay, so they got Damian Harris, they got James White. So like the upside of Ramondre Stevenson would be Damian Harris essentially, like because James White, he's going to be their change of pace guy. So um, I think I would be looking at some other guys. I actually don't mind James White himself, but I like him more in best ball than in classic because in best ball, you like he's never gonna be like blowing you away to start him, but I feel like he's the kind of guy that has a big upside if Mac Jones is quarterback because I feel like Mac Jones is kind of a pocket passer, is going to pass a lot more to the um, running back position, and the team is also going to pass more as a whole. So, all right, draft wingman's really wanting me to take a tight end here. So, Hunter Henry. It's interesting because like the Patriots says just kind of the same with White. I feel like they're going to pass more this year once they switch to Mac Jones, and tight ends and running backs are going to benefit because I don't think Cam Newton's going to pass them a ton. David Johnson, I feel like he's been trending down recently, so not huge on him. Chuba Hubbard. I guess the question there would be like, how much confidence do we have that he gets to start or if how much of the McCaffrey workload he would get. Okay. So, let's see. Looks like defenses are starting to be high in ADP. I definitely feel like I can wait on that. Austin Hooper, ADP 166. 113 times 12 is like 150-ish. So I don't mind going back to back tight ends, I guess, and going Hooper. And then Ertz. I can start 3 tight ends if all 3 have good years. And Hooper, he's only been in Cleveland a year, and I feel like he was pretty disappointing the first year, but he's one of the highest paid tight ends in the game. So I feel like not only is he kind of due for bounce back because of his historical performance, but the coaches need to get him to perform well too, so they look good. Because it looks like a really bad pick on their part. Oops. Football team. Okay. All right. So, see what kind of players are coming up now. Justice Hill, I feel like I'm not going to pick him just because I feel like I heard he's the RB3 in Baltimore. So, I'm just going to cross him off here. Daryl Williams is a guy, I just don't really understand why no one's on him because I feel like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he obviously, if he's healthy, is going to be really the guy getting all the work. But if for some reason Hilaire is out, then Daryl Williams, I think, is going to be a really solid option. They did just let go of Darwin Thompson today in their cuts, so if there's any question left about Daryl Williams' role if Hilaire is out, then I'm not really worried about it at this point. Let's see, is Ruggs still on the board here? I think he got taken. He got taken. Okay, so let's see. I guess I could go with Ertz, or I could go with Daryl Williams. It looks like Daryl Williams. I do feel like more confident in his role than some of the other guys on this list of backup running backs, so that's why I'd be going to him. We'll see how that plays out this year. It should be interesting. All right, I got 6 picks left, so I need a kicker, I need a defense, and 4 bench. Let's see, I got Gage on my team here. So I don't think I'd take another quarterback in a classic league, so I'm kind of crossing those off. Harrison Butker is kind of interesting. If you sort by, let's sort by value to team here, it'll kind of show how many points I'd be getting from a defense or kicker. So it does look like maybe the Buccaneers defense could be a smart play depending on their ADP. I have them for 7 more fantasy points than. Let me make sure they didn't get picked. They may have already gotten picked, I think. Yeah, okay, so they're off the board. Matt Prater is pretty interesting because Arizona is a dome team, and I mean Prater is a good kicker as well. So I'm kind of thinking like in the playoffs, like he'll be in a good spot because Arizona's gonna have good conditions compared to other teams. So it's something to consider. But it does look like the amount of points I'm getting over other players isn't huge. So let me see what his ADP is. 226. So that means I can wait until like round 18 maybe to get him. And then for defense, the Rams 8.9 points. That's not really significant over these other teams. So I don't really feel like there's much incentive to draft a defense at this point. So nothing groundbreaking there. I don't think anyone's ever stoked about drafting a defense, although I do feel like that that draft of the Tampa Bay defense, even though it's pretty early, is smart because based on our rankings, they look like they're significantly better than other teams, which is really what we're looking for. I mean, the other thing you could do is just stream defenses most of the season and then take one that has a good playoff schedule. So at this point in the draft, I feel like that's probably a viable strategy for me. I feel like taking a kicker defense is. I'm not going to get very many points over the end of the draft kind of guys. So, all right. I'm just going to cross off these quarterbacks because I'm not really in the market for a quarterback anymore. Where's this good pick? Alda, I think, was picked. Fuller I had on my team, but it doesn't really matter. So let me know how you guys have been doing on the last rounds of the draft. Curious what your guys' experiences have been. We got the Tampa or the San Diego lineup in. If you guys are keeping track on your MLB, Jalen Reagor is surprisingly dropping. Like I feel like he's got a lot of talent, and uh, the quarterback position. If they have Hurts in, that's not great. But I feel like it's not a given that Hurts will start all year. Let me see what my ranking is for him. A better way for me to take advantage of this, might be to draft Zach Ertz because the tight end position on FFPC has a lot of upside. I feel like there's a lot of ways this could go right. And if all three of my tight ends had huge years, like that wouldn't necessarily be a waste because you got 2 flex spots. So, now one of the questions is just, what am I going to do at running back week 9? Because man, my team is looking horrible. Like at that position, that 1 week, I mean, I don't think it's such a huge issue because 1 loss wouldn't really sink me, and if I just have all my guys having a bad week the same week, that's not as huge a deal. Pollard and Williams should have projections in the low single or high single digits, possibly. So I don't necessarily think I'd be completely dead. So, all right. Oh man, I was kind of hoping to get Amon-Ra St. Brown because Lions fan, and he wasn't really a high draft pick, so he wasn't on my radar to begin with. But it looks like he's a starter, so that's pretty good at this point. Although, honestly, man, I don't know. Like, I'm thinking this through. It doesn't. I feel like maybe Hilton, Rager, like both of those guys should be a little bit more likely to break out. But let's see. What is the latest on Rashad Bayman? I know he's out for the first part of the season. Expected return in September. This guy was a first round pick. So that's the kind of guy that I don't mind taking a shot on late in the draft here. So I'm trying to kind of do some mental math and figure out which of these guys is going to be most likely to break out. Hilton's out the first few weeks, but I feel like that spot in Indiana with Carson Wentz is probably the best because they have the highest passing rate of any of these teams. And Hilton hasn't really, he's older, so that's like obviously the downside, but I don't think any of these guys are really likely. Damn. I guess I guess I'll stick with my guy here and go with Hilton. Like, obviously, at this point in the draft, like the players that we're getting aren't like really very likely to crack our starting lineups. But Hilton, I still have a little bit of hope. Okay, let's look at the draft board and see how everyone's doing here. No one's really gone kicker. A few defenses have been taken. That's actually funny because that's like the opposite of how I would probably draft. Where I feel like kicker, you can get a bigger advantage because the difference in projection is higher. But defense is so volatile because it's all based on a week to week matchup that it's hard for over the course of a season one defense to really stand out. All right. Ebron's kind of interesting. Like everyone's kind of written him off this year. Um, but I don't know how much this rookie is going to really impact his role. So if I had more need for a tight end, I'd consider him. I feel like I need to really fortify my running back position, but geez, the options here are not good. I guess Carlos Hyde, like now that I'm thinking about it, let me look at the Jacksonville depth chart here. So um Divino Zigbo. I remember last year I was thinking maybe he would play more, but they did sign Hyde. If Robinson went out, I think Hyde would be playable. But Ogunbowale probably gets a decent receiving share there. So Hyde is kind of someone I'd consider. Xavier Jones, obviously, now that they have Sony Michelle, it doesn't make much sense. Marlon Mack, I feel like the injury is pretty scary. Let's see it. My upside ranking on Samaj P. Ryan is high. So I'm trying to remember who these guys are. Like this is kind of into the weeds here. Trayvon Williams, 6th round pick, 2019. Chris Evans, 6th round pick, 2021. So I'm not sure like how much of the work P. Ryan would get if Mixon was out, but it seems like it'd be a good amount. Farland. I remember reading that he's is Snell the backup? I'm probably very pleased with him as our kick returner, so yeah, maybe not. Okay. Alright, High got drafted. Oh man, Etienne. I think he's actually out for the season because he got placed on the IR. Todd Gurley. I feel like there's an opportunity here with the Pittsburgh guys, but I don't feel really confident in that. Todd Gurley is kind of interesting stash. Like I think having a free agent could make sense here because basically whoever has the injury, Todd Gurley would be signed in this theoretical situation. And um that gives him a higher likelihood to start than another player because like you need a specific guy to be injured for that to happen. With Todd Gurley, it could be any guy in the league. So is that crazy? I don't think anyone's going to be drafting. Todd Gurley wants to join Ravens. All right. So I'm kind of glad if I was going to pick Gurley that the Ravens didn't get him. All right. So Bateman's kind of coming back to me. I feel like he's a why not pick. So, I mean, seems How many wide receivers do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Since this is like a classic league, like I don't know how much bang I'll be able to get out of another wide receiver, but at this point, none of the picks are really high leverage, so I mean, it doesn't really matter, I guess. But I think there is a world where he kind of is better than everyone expects. So drafting talent, I guess, isn't a bad idea. Let me look at the running backs again. Boston Scott, I have no confidence he'll really have a huge role if Sanders is out, so that doesn't make any sense. Pirine, I have a little more confidence in, but I feel like he's going to be available in the last pick if I want to get him. All right. So let me pull up kicker and defense. I feel like I'll be best suited to draft those at my next picks, and then okay, Prater looks solid. Let's see who the Seahawks are. Let me sort by total fantasy points. Chiefs, Bills, Packers, Seahawks. Really don't have much of a lean here. So to see what comes to me, and then actually let me bring up the strength of schedule tool here. Since with defense, I'm really looking for the opposing matchups. The tough part is like the best matchup's going to be the teams running out like backup quarterbacks week 15 or something, but we don't know who that would be. Let me just pull up defense and kicker here. Oh man, I'm not prepared to draft here. All right. Seahawks defense. I feel like they were really bad last year, which gives me some pause. But they do have really good matchups week 16 and 17. Let's see who they got. The Bears, Justin Fields, and the Lions with Goff. So you can't really draw it up better than that. I can always stream defenses too. I think I'll have some flexibility. Feels a little bit weird drafting a defense that's ranked so far down, but obviously I did a lot of work to calculate these, so might as well lean on that. As far as overall projection, all of these are like so close that it's really like the matchups that I want to play. Oh, looks like the Eagles defense could have been interesting too. But they're not as strong as Seattle's defense, according to my rankings here. All right. Kicker. Mike Nugent. Did someone already take him? Buckhurst. Might have to update that. Who's thought I updated this earlier today. I must have messed up. Oh, I didn't upload here, so it doesn't have the right team. So that was my bad. So I gotta go back, and the team name is the one I'm looking at. So Robbie Gould, kind of going along with the defense. He has really good matchups in those last weeks because facing the Bears and the Lions. So San Francisco should be a pretty good team this year. Definitely don't mind getting the kicker. And since they play on the West Coast, you don't have to worry about snow or something like that that could really impact the potential. It's more about the matchups. So I think Robbie Gould makes a lot of sense here. This last round is not the most exciting, it looks like, because all these guys that are being drafted right now, like I haven't seen anyone draft. All right, so my top one got picked, so I gotta keep looking. So let's see. Did oops. Let me look in the draft wingman. Okay, Badgley, and yeah, I think Badgley is probably my best bet at this point. So hopefully he doesn't get picked. Otherwise, Blankenship, solid. All right, hopefully that guy wasn't having connection problems or something because it looked like an auto draft. At least he didn't get J.K. Dobbins. All right, this is the sweat. Is Badgley going to be on the board or not? It's interesting how they assigned Vizcaino and their projections half the like more than half the points. Let me just read the news here. Uh, sh- uh, this might be one that we just aren't gonna know today. That sucks. So I guess I'll have to draft a different kicker. Not that I'm heartbroken about that, but Blankenship does look pretty solid. So certainly a guy I'm happy to draft. I did see he won the kicking competition in Indianapolis, so that wasn't surprising because I feel like he was one of the best kickers last year. So I was surprised that he was in competition, but let's hope that Riser doesn't go with Blankenship. All right, so I've had that queued up. Tommy Listella scratched. Breaking news. All right. Guys, if you don't already have the draft kit, then make sure to go to awesemo.com and get the draft kit. It's $15, but you can use the promo code Fantasy Season to get $5 off. The main thing though is you get a $35 credit to FFPC that you can use to enter a free draft. So that's a net of $25 right off the bat. And we got a lot of great features like the draft wingman that I've been using here. And that will help you win these tournaments and really maximize your year. So make sure to check those out. Let me just check the chat real quick. Let's see if all right. So I know this is the pick you guys have all been waiting for. This is usually where leagues are won or lost, but I kind of talked myself into Todd Gurley because I really need someone that's going to play with the guys that have. So I don't hate having him on my bench. He's looking for work. Hopefully he gets hired soon rather than later. Let me take a look at my draft board and kind of go over what my takeaways were from this draft. All right, so Devonte Adams kind of dropped here. So wide receiver at number 1 kind of sets you up in a tough spot because tight end and running back have more scarcity. But Devonte Adams is a fantastic player, so he makes up for that in spades. And then I got a really solid tight end in Kittle. I could actually really get a ton of benefit if for some reason Trey Lance doesn't start this year at all. Then Kittle should be in a monster spot. If Trey Lance starts, that should hurt his value, but he's still George Kittle. So in a 1.5 PPR site, that's a big one. I feel like I kind of messed up with Carson Swift because they have the same bye week. So the only thing is I do like Swift more than any of the guys in the next round. So I think what my play should have been is just draft a different position here instead of running back and let someone else drop. But hopefully I won't have to pay too bad in week 9. All right, and then I kind of ended up with 2 Bengals receivers. I really like the Bengals passing because they pass at such a high volume. I got Burrow later in the draft to complete a stack in case I want to increase my volatility in the final weeks. I got Dak, he kind of dropped, so nice value. Michael Thomas, who a great stash play where he's going to far exceed the projections of anyone else in this range the weeks he does play. That's just a big question mark. Now, this league does allow you to drop players and change up your roster construction. So I will be taking advantage of that if Michael Thomas gets ruled out for the year or something. I think the deadline's like week 14, so I should be able to potentially swap him out if the news doesn't work out the way I want. All right, and then I feel like I got some good handcuffs with Pollard and Williams. Some guys that I feel like might exceed expectations with Gage, Hilton, and Bateman, Hooper, and Ertz. And then, yeah, I feel pretty good about this. The one position I feel like I could be in a tough spot with is running back, just because I only have 2 good running backs right now, and there's no trades in this league. So if one of them got injured, that could be trouble. But um, you can't draft strong in every position, so that was kind of something I have to live with. I do wish that maybe I waited. It looks like in this round 6, there are a lot of good options at running backs. So, all right, guys, thanks for tuning in here, and I hope you picked up some nuggets. Make sure to check out our draft kit. Oh, and if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button and notification bell. When we go live, we got a lot of great videos coming out here from our team. And if you haven't already signed up, make sure to get the draft kit. And we have that free $35 for FFPC in there. I think classic leagues are a great way to get a solid ROI because most people aren't going to be able to put in the work it takes to really maximize the chance of success. And if you are looking to invest a moderate amount, classic leagues probably the best bang for your buck. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in and good luck in your drafts.